Hey everybody, it's the Zen Witch. Happy full moon. I was going to live stream this, but I chickened out because I've had a couple issues and I don't yet know how to fix them. So I'm going to wait on that. Anyway, it is Cancer full moon and it happens, let's see, it's exact in about an hour and 20 minutes on the Eastern, well, everywhere when I'm recording this now, but 2:23, I think it is Eastern time zone. I've got my calendar here somewhere. At any rate, stick around because I'm going to look at the chart for the full moon and throw some cards and maybe even do a little meditation. So, welcome and again, happy full moon. It's it's a good one for me because last night I led dances, and these are dances of universal peace. And there's just no experience like it. It's such a community creative. It's ritual, but it's free flowing ritual, and much looser and but just as joyful. I mean, the ecstatic factor is way high. Um, I learned about the dances back in 2002, I think. Um, I think it was 2002 anyway, it might have been 2001. But from a dear friend, someone who became a dear friend, when I was going to do a workshop at a particular facility, and the nobody showed up, and I was hoping nobody showed up because I met this woman who was leading this Tara dance event at the same time as mine upstairs, and um, it sounded fascinating. So I was praying nobody came to my workshop, and nobody did. So I got to go to hers, and I met my wonderful dance mentor. And there really is nothing to compare it to in our culture, in especially North American culture, or I would say United States culture. I'll just speak from my own experience. Not many ways to experience something like this of moving in a group, in a circle, while you're singing, to rhythm and chanting, and in this spiritual context. Not anything that I was ever um, confronted with when I was growing up. The closest thing was, square dance in gym class, and that was a far cry. But it really is a transcendent experience, and we had a lovely group of women and my son. My son comes with me every month, and he's my anchor dude. He'd rather not dance, but if I have an odd number of people and I want to do a partner dance, he steps in. So, um, lovely group. And with this Cancer full moon, let's talk about the full moon. Cancer full moon obviously is water full moon. It means the sun is in Capricorn and the moon is opposite that in Cancer. And it makes for, I know I was incredibly squishy all day yesterday. I was just like on the verge of tears the whole time. And before I do dances, every Thursday there's a sacred song circle that happens. And we stand in a circle and we sing. The leader just has cards with easily learned sing along songs. Some are rounds, some are just familiar songs. And we just stand in a circle and sing and harmonize and free sing, and it's just incredible. It's such a wonderful experience. And then we go rolling into dance. And so getting through the song circle, I was like, you know. But then, when you're in that state, it can be very easy to say, I don't want to go to something like this, meditative, or when you're having a bad time. I mean, I learned this doing mother drum throughout the years, that the harder it is to take yourself to something like ritual or a drumming or a singing or dances or anything like that's a spiritual event with other people, the harder it is to take yourself there, the more you need to go. So I just kind of had to give into the squish. Every once in a while we started singing, what was it, Blowing in the Wind. And I was giving the leader Reiki at the time because she's having an issue with her eye. So I was giving her Reiki while we were singing. She started singing that, and I started singing, and it was just like, ah! And I had to put my head down for a second. and breathe, and then, let my voice out again. But that's the benefit of doing something like this, is if you have emotions that need to be processed through, you can do it in a way that has the most healing vibration to it, because you're in a community setting. That's really important. And I want to quote some research here. Refer to some research here that was done around drumming and drum circles. So when you are listening to rhythmic music, whoa, the hemispheres of your brain entrain together. Usually one kind of dominates over the other, and they work together, but back and forth. When you're listening to rhythmic music, the hemispheres of your brain entrain together. It's like everything in there goes. And so that's a very good state to be in. When you participate in a rhythmic activity, drumming, dancing, just something, a rhythmic activity, the effect increases. And when you participate in something like this, do something like this in a setting of community, the benefits go way, way, way up. And the benefits are strengthening your immune system, fighting disease, cancer markers go down. And just the holistic brain state is something that we don't experience on a regular basis in our culture. Hardly ever. We experience stress states. So when you can participate in something like that gives you such benefit brain-wise and such benefit just spiritually, you're going to experience relief. You're going to experience a change in your being, in your state. So it's a wonderful, wonderful thing to do. Before I go any further here, I want to pop on my overhead cam, and I'm going to offer you a smoke cleansing. And I misspoke on a video earlier. I was talking about asperging, saying asperging rather than smudging. But asperging, someone corrected me, is actually the water, the salt and water part. I haven't independently verified that, and it's been a long time since those early days of Gardnerian training for me. So I forget some of the words. Very soon after being introduced to Gardnerian Wicca, I sort of absorbed the structure, and then it became an art form, which it should for you as well. So anyway, here we go. Frankincense and myrrh. The frankincense is solar, and the myrrh is lunar. So we are honoring the full moon here, the sun-moon opposition. So let me scoot some things around here. Hold up. All right. I so need a producer. Oh, no, what? All right, fun times. All right, I am rearranging my things here so I can turn my desktop on and we can look at the chart. There we go. I said there we go. There. Okay. So here's the full moon chart in the Eastern time zone today, somewhere in the Eastern time zone. And it's so hard not to talk about houses, but you go an hour to the west and different time zones, and it's going to be a different chart. And it doesn't go back. Each time zone is an hour's difference, but the charts are going to slide depending on where in that time zone things are. So anyway, if that made any sense to you, it might not have, and I'm not going to explain any further. So here's the chart. Here's the sun in Capricorn. Here's the moon in Cancer. I'm going to knock these things off of my charcoal because I am laying down the Mastering Fog. All right. So sun in Capricorn highlights limitation. This is the time of year, and I'm talking Northern Hemisphere here. So I've never done a birth chart for somebody in the Southern Hemisphere, and paganism, is flipped down there as far as seasons and everything else. So I wonder how this would be interpreted in the Southern Hemisphere. At any rate, if if you're from down under, let me know. Sun in Capricorn for us in the north denotes the winter, the cold of winter, the time of limitation, the time of lack. If you lived in an agricultural society, it was when you had to live on whatever you stored away. So we have to be responsible. We have to be conservative. That is a Capricorn keyword, is conservative, which means conserving your resources. It means not wasting. And then Moon in Cancer over here is about feeling. So we're kind of talking about the practical end of self-expression. That's the Sun in Capricorn. And then the really feeling end, emotionally being open and compassionate and feeling. And it's kind of putting these two things at odds with each other. It's difficult to be responsible and toe the line when you're really swayed emotionally, when you're under a wave of emotion. And Cancer Moon, the moon rules Cancer. Cancer Moon is as emotional as it gets in the moment. It's Cancer and Capricorn are cardinal signs, which means they function in the moment. The response is immediate. So this is an immediate emotional response. So you might hear me describing Cancer people here a bit. Accused of being moody because their emotional response is immediate. It happens in the now. So their moods shift from one moment to the next. Cancer is the liquid form of water. So think about the ebb and flow and how water is not static. With Cancer, it is flowing water. I suppose it could also be stagnant water because it's water in its liquid form, at any rate. Just pedantics there. So we're at odds with our being responsible and authoritative and where our emotions are taking us. Sun is exactly conjunct Mercury right now, which means which means we're going to talk about everything. We're going to express ourselves verbally. And also remember, this is being a natal astrologer. It's very different looking at transits and things. So I tend to revert to natal terminology and delineation. At any rate, let's say that when we're looking at transits, it's what this is conducive to. So it's conducive to communication, but with the moon opposing, it's conducive to emotional communication, emotional outbursts, possibly in the now, because it is cardinal signs. But again, the Sun-Mercury conjunction is ruled by Saturn, which is delay and being kind of conservative, so that pulls back on it a little bit. Now you can see some of what the weighing and balancing of astrology is. You just keep digging in, and things either balance each other out or they back each other up, and it's working your way through that and deciding what predominates. So this Sun-Mercury conjunction is technically conjuncting this Saturn-Pluto conjunction with the moon opposing. Wow, emotional triggers, power struggles. The Saturn-Pluto conjunction is just power struggle, especially if this was in a like a synastry chart and somebody's Saturn is squaring or opposing somebody else's Pluto. There's going to be serious power struggles going on in the relationship. Pluto is extremes. Saturn is karma. So as I said in my video on the Saturn-Pluto conjunction earlier in the week, it really is about the karmic bill coming due and time to put up or shut up is what I'm seeing here. And you don't really get a choice. You have to just do it. We have to take responsibility for our actions in the past, our actions going forward. And we don't get a choice about it. It's time to transform. So all those things we've been talking about or thinking about that we could do to help the environment, for instance, we need to do them now or before it's forced on you. And that's the thing with Pluto. is, like I said before, the only choice you get with Pluto is willingly or kicking and screaming. You are going to change and you are going to transform. So know that that's happening, and just know that the time is now to implement these changes that you've been thinking about, to step up and be the authority in your life. And this is, this full moon is shining a spotlight on that. So let's see. How can I put this whole thing together here? Wow. All right. I was just looking at the Sun, Mercury, and the Saturn, Pluto, and thinking about speaking truth to power. If you don't do resist bot, you should. And start quacking in people's ears and jamming their phone lines and, sending postcards and emails and being a bug here, if that's what you can do. Start working the plastic out of your life in any way possible. My husband and I were talking the other day, and I said something about, it's like paper versus plastic. And he's like, well, the plastic can be recycled. And it's like, but why do you want to put more plastic to be recycled into the system? Let's, trying to just back away from that as quickly as possible. And it's doable because we've done it before, and we've done it before without like fabulous refrigerators and things like that. So, bought some almond butter the other day, and I bought what I bought because it was in glass instead of plastic. Now, the irony there is that our recycling doesn't do glass anymore. So, but that will biodegrade over time. I don't know how long a time, and I don't know if that's even true, but I like glass better than plastic is the message. Okay, so let's look down at the bottom here at the elements. Cardinal is totally predominating, and so is Earth. So that's the expression of 5 planets in Capricorn. Cardinal Earth is practical, in the moment, structural, authoritative, responsible. So now is a great time to look at kind of your emotional state through daily life. What do you feel like in your environment? How does it make you feel? Where do your moods really get affected a lot? And then take responsibility for that and and structure. Use all that Capricorn energy to structure, to transform and structure. So the transformation of Pluto could be radically getting rid of all the shit that you've accumulated. And I mean slash and burn, doing a radical purge. And then the Capricorn energy of the planet sitting in Capricorn, and that Saturnine energy just says it's time to structure it, be responsible and structure. So reorganizing your space so that it suits the life that you want to have, so that the environment you set up for yourself isn't triggering mood stuff, or the moods that it's triggering are good moods. So that's a real practical look at it there. And, as far as mundane astrology, I mean, I think we dodged a bullet with Iran. I think the saber rattling kind of undid both sides. And I'm not even going to comment anymore on that because I'm still running on dance energy from last night, and it's full moon, and I want to focus on the positive, what I can give to you that's positive. So let's take out the chart right now and go overhead. And I have with me my Hanson-Roberts deck, as usual, over here. But I also have the Kuan Yin Oracle, and one of the dances, the dance that we closed with last night, is actually my favorite dance to close with, which is Kwanjang Bosai. And Kwanjang is the Korean version of Kuan Yin that we're more familiar with, which is the Chinese version of White Tara, Kanon in Japanese. She's the goddess of compassion. She's a bodhisattva of compassion. And a bodhisattva is a being that has achieved enlightenment, that has attained enlightenment, and so basically graduated and is allowed to move on from samsara, the wheel of samsara. And instead of moving on, they choose to stay. They vow to stay until all suffering beings are enlightened. And so they're called bodhisattvas. So the bosai is bodhisattva. I need a drink. Hold on. That's what happens when you have your sensor right in your face when you lay down the Or Mastering Fog. So we did this Quan Yin Bosai dance, and it's such a beautiful dance. In the beginning of it, you're taking refuge, Buddhist practice of acknowledging that I can't do this on my own, and I'm not supposed to do it on my own. And then we offer like our own wisdom gems, which is all your life experiences, to the world. And then we, the last round of the dance, you're rocking a baby. And so it's like all of the suffering beings, and this is where you visualize the ones that bug you the most. You know, the people that are the most vile are the people that are suffering the worst in terms of spirituality, in terms of woundedness, in terms of wounded psyche, wounded heart, wounded spirit. So sometimes, when talking about compassion, and believe me, it took me a lifetime to learn to expand compassion beyond animals for me. I mean, that's not really true. It's my Plutonian nature. I can be meaner than a snake. It's how I'm built, and I'm learning how not to be. But anyway, it can be really hard to feel, impossible to feel compassion for somebody that is doing horrible things. How can you do that? How can you feel compassion when you're, so enraged and hurt and everything else? So intellectually, if the closest we can get to compassion is the idea of, man, it must really suck to be you, that's a start. And to get beyond that, I look at some of these people and see them either as little children, and if you can't even do that, you can't even, that doesn't get you some compassion. Think about the fact that they were tiny babies once too, and the worse they are, the worse they've been wounded. So anyway, I got the Kuan Yin Oracle out. So let's take a look. I haven't reviewed this deck yet, but I will. It's Alana Fairchild. It's a gorgeous deck. And this is one of those decks where truly an oracle deck, you really can't do a full reading with this. I suppose you could if you look at each card and you really boil it down to keywords. But other than that, there's a lot with each card, even a meditation and a little ritual and stuff. So it's difficult to do a full reading. One is quite enough. So let's ask here. Just asking for a message. I'm going to shuffle through 3 times. So if you're watching this, kind of put a message out, or, put a question out. And then I'm hearing cut. Spin the silken thread divine. The artwork on this deck is just celestial. Just amazing. All right, gonna look that up. I have to resist, I'm so used to doing deck reviews. I want to pick it up and, start going through them all, but we're just doing one. Okay. Let's see what all we got here. All right. In creating precious silks, there is a sorting process, sifting out that which is broken to find that which is precious and pure. You are commencing a new cycle, beloved, and it is time to allow for that which is more precious and pure, that which you wish to take with you into the future, to continue and to release that which does not align with your true heart. Sometimes we need to help ourselves access the new cycle by releasing vows from this or other lifetimes, releasing old emotional patterns, and calling in wisdom and talents from past lifetimes. You are guided to accept this healing now. Okay, back to the chart. Saturn and Pluto is past life stuff, and Saturn is karmic. So this is all fitting in kind of deliciously with the chart there, talking about transforming your space and getting rid of things that don't serve your emotional needs going forward, setting up a space that is conducive to you giving your gifts. Okay? Your past is calling to you. It is calling to be cleared, to be released, and for the beauty and power of the past to be claimed in the present moment, woven together like a precious rare silk. All the experiences, mistakes, adventures, and successes of your past in this and other lifetimes have given your soul plenty of material from which to draw its wisdom, like fine silken threads being woven into a beautiful fabric. It has had to grow in awareness, light, capacity, and love in order to be where it is now. You are being guided by Kuan Yin now to realize that your past is nothing to be ashamed of. Even the worst mistakes that you may have judged yourself or others for have been opportunities to really grow in love. The precious silk could not be formed without the rough layers of the cocoon within which the pure thread is spun by the silkworm. So, too, you have been able to weave something truly beautiful within the experiences of your life, even those which you no longer need to carry with you as memories or scars. Okay. So that's transformation. Pluto transformation can be about looking at your past and doing a reframe. This was on my mind to talk to you about the other day. NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. It is looking at how your brain is programmed, and that happens through language, it happens through vision. And we can go in there and reprogram the computer by looking at how we're oriented and using language, using visualization. And the cardinal rule of NLP, this is what I wanted to get to, is the person with the greatest capacity for change wins. So in any situation, let's say, you live in a wonderful home and suddenly you're homeless. If you keep trying to lead your life like you're living in that home, it's not going to work. And, you're not going to have the shelter that you need. You have to make severe life adjustments. So looking at the reality of life as it is now, radical acceptance is the place that you begin. And then looking at how can I adapt? How can I, and not acceptance in terms of, oh, it's all okay and I'm apathetic about it. Acceptance in terms of acknowledging the reality of the situation. Acknowledging here's the way things are, whether I like it or not. So here's when we get into Buddhist training too, about getting rid of the likes and dislikes. The preferences that lead you off into the emotional. So here's the moon in Cancer. I prefer this, I don't prefer that. I want something that makes me feel good. Rather than playing to the emotions, you acknowledge those feelings. I don't like this, but you base your actions in the acceptance of, but this is the way things are. What am I going to do about it? What is the action I choose now? So yeah, the person with the greatest capacity for change wins. When you are locked in a battle with somebody, and it's just not getting anywhere and they are not going to change, if you can shift your tactics, everything can change. So, it's about flexibility skills. Okay. All right. All right, I'm going to read this meditation here. All right, and yeah, I can't decide what to do. All right, I'm going to read the meditation. Close your eyes and be aware of your heart space, with a soft silver light glowing within. Imagine you can travel within your heart, and within you sense a movement, a spinning of threads. Some are rough and broken, yet they hold a barrier in place, so that within, great silky threads of pure light can be woven in an endless stream. Feel the preciousness and wonder of these threads. They are like the meridians of your soul being spun in your heart. Allow yourself to journey along these threads of light in your heart, where you eventually notice a spiral of many lights and colors, representing the lifetimes and situations that you have encountered through your past in this lifetime and beyond. You become aware of Kuan Yin gently catching the threads of your soul and extracting them out of the rough cocoon, weaving them into an exquisite silk. Say aloud, through the grace of Kuan Yin and my own free will, I now unconditionally forgive and release the pain, shame, or blame that is holding me in past energies and preventing me from living my potential. I release this wholly and completely now, through all time and space and all dimensions of my being. Send love to Kuan Yin and her divine fingers, weaving your soul light into beautiful expression, and then say aloud, I now choose to claim all past life talents, gifts, and skills that are based in unconditional love into my present lifetime. I ask for this by the grace and compassion of Kuan Yin and of my own free will in unconditional love and divine mercy. Finally, send love with this intention from you to beloved Kuan Yin once more. When you are ready, feel the lightness in your heart as your cocoon has been transformed into the most exquisite silken garment of light. Imagine it resting on your body and feel the beauty. When you're ready, open your eyes. That's beautiful. That's absolutely beautiful. And again, this is Alana Fairchild, the Kuan Yin Oracle, Blessings, Guidance, and Enlightenment from the Divine Feminine. It's Blue Angel Publishing 2012, to give credit there. That's a beautiful thing. So it is about transformation, and this is a wonderful message for using that transformative energy of the Saturn-Pluto conjunction that has now been activated by this full moon eclipse. It's also an eclipse. And I also want to say that there's a temptation, when I was pausing there in the dead air for a few seconds trying to figure out, do I want to read this meditation or not? And I thought, I'll just, I'll edit it and clip that out. And, thinking about the style of the day, the mode du jour of jump cuts, everything just jumping. And it's great and it compresses things, but I think I'm choosing different for my channel. I think when you come to my channel, I want you to slow down. I want you to breathe. I want you to listen. And, I don't care if you put this on when you're cleaning your house, just for, nice background noise. That's awesome. It gets in there. But I'm not going to do the jump cutty things. I mean, when I started this channel, I did a lot of editing, and that was sort of the mood, do that jour. Now, this is the choice I'm making. So, I hope you got something valuable out of that. And like I said, I'm like fighting gravity here to keep from going into a deck review. So I'm going to put this away now. And then I'm going to get out the Hanson-Roberts and give you another message, because I love doing readings. So again, I'm asking for, let me move this a little bit here. I am asking my cards to give me a message that people need to hear in their personal lives in using this full moon energy. So we're going to do a shuffle. Going to do 3 shuffles, 3 cuts, and then I'll take 3 cards. Again, when you're shuffling your deck, tell it what you're going to do so it can set things up. Play that game. Play the magical game in your head. And when you do, funnily enough, magic happens. I think that was 3. Okay, there's 2, and looky there. 10 of Pentacles, 9 of Cups. This I call the Stable Family card. It's the culminating card of the suit of Earth. of Pentacles, it talks about getting your resources together. Number one, it talks about having the resources. And, you see the generational family. There's 3 generations here. There's a dog. There's a castle in the background. It is a scene of material success, of wherewithal, of abundant resources in a very practical sense. This is the 9 of Cups. They call that the wish card in this deck. It is in the emotional realm. So looky here. We had Capricorn, which is earth, Cancer, which is water. So the Capricorn end, yes, can be about acquisition and about having things set up so that they last a lifetime. Capricorn energy is long-reaching, longevity. So Saturn and Capricorn rule longevity. They rule old age, commitment, things that last a long time. So this is talking about those resources you have that either keep on giving or will last you a lifetime. And what I'm feeling in my mind here is boiling these things down to the essentials of here's what I need really to live the life I want to live, and condensing it to an immediate thing rather than the stockpiling of stuff. And then the 9 of Cups is about what is it you want? Key into your emotional state. Where does this is defining happiness. What is a wish but a definition of happiness? This is what will make me happy. Okay? So this is where you define your happiness in practical terms and put it out there. If I am living the lean, clean life that I want to live and it's making me very happy, what does it look like? And formulating that as a wish. And then the third one is the 8 of Pentacles, which says, and then get busy with the skills. So skills of, it's kind of like when my husband and I went keto almost 2 years ago. And before that, I thought it was going to be absolutely impossible to ever lose weight because I couldn't change my habits. I couldn't. I'm a carb addict, stone cold. And then it got to the place where I was just so sick of being sick that we had to do a change. And I had already arrived at that point when my niece and nephew showed up and they were doing keto and they looked phenomenally good. And everything kicked off from there. I will do a video on keto at some point. But I had already formulated, this is what a healthy lifestyle looks like for me. I was already hungry for the change and to live a better life. And more than that, I was just sick of the old way, but already starting to look to what's the new way here. And voila, when the student's ready, the teacher appears. That means when you've formed the context of the question, when you have made yourself ready for this kind of information, that information shows up. So framing is everything. Framing your happiness. Here's what's going to make me happy. Here's the kind of life I want to live in detail. And this is general spell training, spell working stuff. You've got to frame in detail what you want. If you ask for things in broad, vague, sweeping terms, so if you just say, I want to be happy. I just want to be happy. Okay, the makings of happiness are everywhere. And most importantly, the makings of happiness, your happiness, are here and no place else. But the trappings of happiness are all around you. So if you just say, I want to be happy, well, okay, that might work. You might start recognizing the things that you have that are already making you happy, but that's kind of haphazard. You can frame that a little more specifically by saying, I want to count my blessings. I want to recognize where I'm already happy and be happy about those things. So if we're feeling unhappy, it's that we're not acknowledging the happy-making things that are already there around us. So you start with a list of gratitude and you say, all right, here's all the blessings I have. And by God, by the end of that list, you're going to feel happier. I hope you feel happier. If you don't, you need to talk to somebody, please. But then, after we have formulated this specific thing, then we've got to look at what skills do I need. So when I am planning something, when I'm planning an event, or something big that I need to pull off that is a specific thing, I will make a list of, for instance, launching a YouTube channel, a list of here are the things I already have, here are the resources I already have, and these can be intangibles like your talent and your abilities, your brains, all that kind of stuff, and tangibles like equipment. And then you look at here are the things that I need to attain. So skills, yes, skills and talents that you already have. And then here are the things that I need to attain on the material level, like buying equipment or, whatever needs to be done with that, monetary resources. But on that list should be skills. Here are skills that I need to acquire. And, skills of, like, for me, running an OBS, and skills that I have yet to attain, like doing a clean live stream. So those are the skills. And when you start working on the skills, then that's the use of that Capricorn sun. The Capricorn sun is in practical terms. Here's what's going to get me ahead in practical terms. Here's the next step on that ladder. That is a perfect use of Capricorn sun energy. Here's what's going to move me forward in practical terms. So I got to say, I am loving those 3 cards, and I am keen to take some more. All right. She's jumping out at me right away and saying you've got to deal with whatever, you got to deal with your stress. You have to deal with your grief. The bombardment of bad news is unavoidable, and we shouldn't be trying to avoid it. We should be balancing it. You can't avoid it. You need to stay aware, stay awake and aware, but you've got to balance it out. Okay, you don't have a choice about the stress. You do have a choice about what happens to ameliorate that stress. Over here is the answer. Meditation. Golly, I love being validated like that. So meditation to help you get in touch with the fact that there's grief happening, that you have sorrow about the way things are happening in the world. And, we tend to process news in kind of an intellectual way. We hear about things that are happening and go, gosh, that's awful, that's too bad. But do we acknowledge that, wow, that is hitting me in the feels and making me super sad, and I need to go cry about it, or I need to process this? Remember that having emotional reactions to things and not processing them through your body is like eating a meal and never taking shit. Not good for you. So meditation. I hope you don't get tired of hearing me say this. And I hope that every time you hear me say it, you're saying, yes, I do. I do it, Luna. I do it every day. So I hope. And then 9 of Rods on this side talks about keeping your boundaries firm. Sun in Capricorn also talks about boundaries, and Sun Mercury conjunction in Capricorn with this Pluto-Saturn thing going on is really expressing boundaries verbally in a no uncertain terms way. Pluto is no uncertain terms. So this could be looking at where things need to end for good and forever, where you need to set a boundary and, really do it in an extreme way. This card, I mean, literally, look at the image. He is vigilant. He is watching his perimeter and keeping his boundaries healthy. So it's also looking at where you've kind of let things slip. And we do this, boundary keeping is a skill. So we do this, and it's time to beef up your boundaries again. I'm also very aware that we've got 10, 9, 8, 9, 9. This means things are culminating. All right, something's coming to a head here. And thank you. Oh, only 1 major arcana. That's pretty awesome. And she's the High Priestess. Happy full moon. She's the High Priestess. Okay. The High Priestess says, you know what to do. You know exactly what the deal is here. beyond emotion, but also with emotion as an informant. An informant, not a boss, is what your emotional energy is here for. It is here for you to experience the joy of life. It's here for you to process life through, to derive meaning from it. But again, it should be your informant and not your boss. She is also that just spiritual connection, that connectedness to everything. Yeah, she's being foggy for me today for some reason. And let's look at these two. Seven of Cups talks about, can be wool gathering. It can be imagining and visualizing things. It's visualizing options, which is a wonderful thing. So when we go back to here, visualizing the way you want your life to be, if you're not totally set on what it is makes you happy, look to your past. What has made me happy in the past? Try on some different scenarios. I say that I want this. Is that what I really want? For years, my husband and I said we would love to have like 5 acres and a little farm, and wouldn't it be great? And we'd do this and this and this and this. And then we looked at each other and went, we both have fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue. This ain't happening. That is an incredibly imperfect and inappropriate dream for us to have. It's just undoable and wouldn't have resulted in happiness. It would have resulted in a sense of failure when we couldn't keep up with things. So, be careful about what you set as your goals. Make sure it really is what you want to achieve and deal with the reality of it. What does that really look like in practical terms? Back to that Capricorn, practical terms. And 4 of Cups says, check out where you're disappointed. Okay, hold on a second here. Let me take a second with these. All right. So what I'm seeing here, she's bringing clarity to the situations, I guess, where we get butt hurt, our little butt hurts. Looking at how we create scenarios when in place of facts, and that those scenarios then make us pouty and cause us to withdraw. This is a strong Cancer message here. Strong Cancer message. And the Sun-Mercury opposition, those can be the mental imaginings based on the emotions that are going on here. So we have an experience, we have an emotional reaction, and until we get further information on it, we create a scenario that validates those feelings, and then we feel worse. And we start pulling back. And Cancer is the master of pulling back. That the Cancer glyph kind of looks like 69 on its side is crab claws. And one of the things that Cancer energy does is make us want to pull back and protect, self-protect. And if you get too close when a Cancer's in self-protect mode, they pinch. So anyway, just some clarity on where we look at what you do with your mind, and especially when you're kind of sort of in isolation and you're having an emotional reaction to something that's not actually going on. It's time to stop and say, what's going on? What story am I playing in my mind? We do this totally unconsciously. There's no blame here, but and we do it all. We all do it. Just look at the reel that you're playing in your head that's causing you to withdraw and feel pouty. The High Priestess says, look at it clearly. Look at it, just no bullshit. And then the Page of Rods at the end here says, and then say what you need to say. Have a conversation. Ask for facts. Ask for information. And then you work your way through conflict. I hope that was helpful to you. It certainly was ringing my bell. I could relate to it, and I hope you can too. I hope that you found something useful there. Not sure what else I'm going to talk about here since this isn't a live stream. And I'm thinking about live streaming. The thing I have to find out first is the buffering bit and what I might be doing wrong there that's chopping off the end of my live streams. I think I set that in YouTube, but I'm not sure. I got to watch a video. Hey, YouTube. But I sidetracked myself there. Sorry. I do that a lot these days. Anyhow, I will certainly be back. I will be live streaming as soon as I get this worked out. My machine is hardwired now, which gives me like blazing download speed, but the upload speed isn't that great. So anyway, not going to stop me. Oh, I know what I was going to say. The working out of when I'm live streaming, when I get into teach mode, I get really sort of one-pointed. And it's hard for me to be teaching, reading, and looking at the chat scrolling and going, hey, shout outs and questions and stuff like that. So I want to figure out how to structure that so that it's easy for you guys and enjoyable for you, and it's easy for me. And I'm not ignoring you. I don't want to ignore you if I'm live streaming and you're engaged with me. I really don't want to ignore you. So what you can look forward to, here are the things that I am planning. I am going to be doing some of my meditations. I'm going to be, within the next week, putting up a video of my grounding meditation, grounding and running energy. And this will be a full, like, with all the big long pauses in it, so you can slap the headphones on and do it. Spell work. My mind is on spell work all the time now, so I really want to be working with that. Continuing on the series of my ritual, art of ritual, and yada yada. I'm trying to pad this out to an hour. I'm not going to do it. It's 50 minutes now. I got nothing more to say. I guess we need to ask Socrates what's happening here. What shall I ask him? Socrates. Okay, I'm getting political here, you guys. Sorry. Socrates, will we end up in a war with Iran within the next year?
You're in luck, asshole.
Okay, does that mean I'm in luck and we won't? That's the way I'm going to take it. That's supposed to be a yes from him, but you know what? Fuck you, Socrates. I'm going to take that as I'm in luck and we're not going to end up in a war. But we already know that Socrates has been wrong before. I just like to argue with him. So anyway, thank you so much for hanging out the length of this video. Like, subscribe, please set your notifications. I've got a lot of people saying, I don't see your videos, and they kind of expect the content to come to them, but you got to set your notifications. I do post things on my Facebook page, but Facebook wants me to boost posts, and I'm not going to do it. So anyway, set your notifications, like, subscribe, watch for content, comment below. Let me know what you'd like to see, decks you'd like to see. I love interacting with you. This is really fun to know that you're out there and listening. And again, happy full moon. Use some of the things that I presented with you today, and blessed be. I'll see you next time. This is the Zen Witch.